All right, everybody. Yes, we have some creepy circus theme music going on. Honestly, I don't know how we could come up with anything more appropriate in the case of Sarah Boone. All right, so I hope you guys are all doing well. Team Doocy Doo, 222, she's the winner today. Diane, welcome, my friend. Oh, Jackie Blue, welcome, my friend. Hey, Cinnamon, hot, hot, hot. All right. There's actually so much to talk about in the true crime community, but I've been teasing this video for, days. And so we're going to go ahead and jump in and go ahead and get this done. We are obviously in preparation for the trial upcoming. I've got to tell you, I'm a bit surprised, as is the defense attorney. I'm a bit surprised that they did not end up with a plea deal. I kind of think that's why this woman has, gone through 8, currently on her 9th, 10th, and 11th attorneys. Why she went through 8 attorneys that ultimately, bit the dust. Because I think they were saying to her, look, girl, you are on video taunting George or Jorge. You're taunting him. He's in the suitcase. He's begging and pleading for his life. You're laughing. You're behaving in a way that is reminiscent of a 12-year-old. That's my name. Don't wear it out. I actually have a family member who is an adult. I'll just say it, a sister-in-law. She's an adult. And she thinks it's so funny. She'll like tell a story and somebody will be saying her name or trying to get her attention or something like that. And she'll say, that's my name. Don't wear it out. And inside of me, I just cringe because I think, golly, that is middle school, junior high kind of humor. I guess it's humor. It's just grates on me. And so, when I heard Sarah Boone say exactly the same thing with that same level of arrogance and, self-importance, I thought, she's stuck, right? This is a woman who, for whatever reason, childhood trauma, child abuse, neglectful parents, those types of situations can definitely cause a person to get frozen, to get stuck at a very specific psychosocial developmental phase. So as we age, we naturally, neurologically, our minds become more sophisticated. We experienced biological changes. We have psychological challenges that we learn to maneuver through. And of course, we have social interactions, and hopefully we become more socially sophisticated through the years as the brain's maturation, the impact, the influence of experience, and in the process of learning, we end up becoming adults, right? One of those things, Sigmund Freud actually wrote some really interesting papers, had some very interesting hypotheses about intellect, biopsychosocial development, and one's ability to appreciate humor or tell jokes. And he did spend quite a bit of his younger years, younger career, talking about jokes, the types of things that people think is funny, that very often that can indicate a level of intelligence. He used to say that he could guess a person's IQ based on the type of jokes that they would tell or the type of jokes that they think were funny. And I would agree 100% with Freud on that. Freud wasn't always creepy and weird. His fascination with sex and the things that caused him to lose a lot of credibility, those things didn't happen until after he developed a terrific drug problem, and he was taking drugs because he had cancer and he was in pain. And he got weird when he was taking a lot of amphetamine and whatnot. So he things kind of went off the rails. But his earlier work, he's a brilliant guy. He's pretty pompous, but definitely brilliant. A lot of people that are geniuses are, kind of full of themselves. And so his work with humor and brain maturation being indicative of intellectual development or IQ, it's really, really interesting. When I was teaching, I used to teach at college, and one of my classes was a developmental psychology, child development type of courses. And in the developmental psychology course, one of the big projects that I had all the students do is they had to talk to 2 kids I laid out 5 age ranges going up to like 21. 5 age ranges. They would have to find 2 or 3 kids and video those kids telling them a joke, right? So the little kids get to tell a joke, and then they would match it up to that age range developmentally, the psychosocial expectations, using John Piaget and Erik Erikson. And then once they did a presentation and whatnot. Once that was all finished, at the last day of class, what we would do is I would collect all the jokes that all the little kids told, right? And then I would tell the joke in class, and then all the students had to try to guess the kids' gender and their age. And they were always so shocked at how good they could predict it. They were just amazed, right? So gender and age, the types of jokes that one likes or is attracted to or thinks is funny, that will tell you an awful lot about their psychosocial development. And so, when you hear Sarah Boone being recorded, I mean, she's recording, it's her own free will. And he's going, Sarah, I can't breathe. Help me. I can't breathe. And she goes, that's my name. Don't wear it out. I'm just cringe on the inside because it sounds like my sister-in-law. But also I cringe because it's like an 11-year-old. Her mentality in that moment is like a child, right? So that made me quite curious then. Yes, and that baby talking cadence crap that people do. Yes, cinnamon hot. Yes. I'm telling you, that's my name. Don't wear it out. It just grates on it. Just something in me. It's so immature. It's so manipulative. It's so suggestive of really, really simple thought, right? And then the level of narcissism is just off the charts. So hard for me to hear it. One, because I got that personal connection to my, but also because, her age, she's 42 years old. That's absurd for her to be talking like that. And this is a person who's clearly in distress. I mean, he can barely speak, right? You can tell he doesn't have much oxygen. He can barely get the sound out. And then her response is so arrogant and so flippant and so immature. That's my name. Don't wear it out. It's just like, wow, girl, you are out of touch, right? She has zero insight. None. Okay, so this made me curious because there is that problem of childhood abuse, severe neglect that will take a person's psychosocial development, and that person will get stuck at an emotional age, right? And so listening to her, the way she's reacting to Jorge or George as he's in this suitcase, she sounds like a teenager. She sounds like a child, right? So I thought, well, what's the history here? Like, is this a person who we do know that there was severe abuse, or severe neglect? Like, I've known of people that, when they were kids, their parents would not let them take a bath. And so they'd go for 2 weeks, no bath. And then, of course, they've got oily hair, they have body odor. Well, do you think that they have any friends after they've been restricted from basic hygiene? Do you think any of the other kids want to be around them? No. In fact, they'll very often either just be ostracized and invisible, or they'll become the target of, cruel jokes and targeted bullying. So in either case, when your parents are mentally ill or just mean and abusive, they can do things to a child that then make that child a target of bullying, or they just get ostracized. They don't have any friends. And then that can cause them to get stuck in their psychosocial development. And so that is everything that I was kind of thinking with Sarah Boone. What happened to her in her childhood she's now a 42-year-old woman. Why is she so clearly emotionally stuck in this, tweensy age, right? Okay. So here's what I learned. I learned that Sarah's mother passed away February the 1st, 2003 from cancer. Her name was Karen Louise Paulson. Her maiden name was Hyames, Hyames. And so that if she passed away in 2003, that means that Sarah would be 20, 21 years old when her mom passed away. So that's kind of interesting. I was expecting, okay, well, maybe your mom died when she was like 13. Then my hypothesis would have been more likely to be accurate, that she's 13 years old, her mom passes away, she gets stuck at that level of psychosocial development. And so her humor and whatnot never progresses. That's not exactly accurate, because she's 20, 21 years old when her mom passes away. Now, it is very true that we all know people that have cancer, that have died of cancer. And for many people, they have cancer for a long time. There's a long period of illness and getting treatment and things like that. And so that might get her a little bit closer to that immature age. And then I ran across the information. There was a divorce. Her mom and dad got divorced. The dad married somebody else. He ends up passing away. So there is a lot of, in the early years, let's say early adulthood, there is a lot of trauma, I think, for Sarah. But what I found to be really, really interesting is that Sarah she had two brothers, one named Tyler, one named Philip. Philip was the younger brother. Tyler's a couple of years older than her. So while one of these brothers, the older one, joined the military and remains in the military today, what I think is very interesting is that the younger brother is actually in prison. And so that got me to looking for information on the brother. And so Tyler, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. The older brother, Tyler, is in prison. The younger brother is in the military and remains in the military today. So Tyler, the older brother, he was born in 1976, which puts him around 50 or so. So he's about, 7-8 years older than Sarah. And if you look at him in October 2011, he caught himself 5 charges. And those charges were interference with custody. So that right there, even though the minor that is involved, that minor's identity is protected, the charge interference with custody, it kind of makes you think, okay, this has to do with maybe his own child. So there is interference with custody, showing obscene material to a minor, sheltering a minor, causing a child to commit an act of delinquency. Usually that is giving them alcohol, drugs, something like that. And then the last charge was resisting an officer without violence. A year late, well, not even a year later, about 5 months later, after he caught these initial 5 charges where he seems to be contributing to the delinquency of a minor, there's grooming behavior, he's showing obscene material to some little kid. Then he actually gets charged with sexual activity with a 16-year-old. Right? So now that leads me to, okay, let's step back here, because trauma is trauma. And even though the mother may have been sick for, let's say, 5, 6, 7 years, that still has Sarah around 15, 16, 17 years old. And the type of humor that her behavior suggests definitely tweensy, 11, 12, 13 years old, not 15, 16, 17. So not likely to be the mom's cancer that would have caused her to get stuck. But then when I saw these charges from a brother who's about 7 years older than her, then I thought, okay, well, this is probably it. She would have been 11, 12 years old. He's 7 years older. That makes him 18 or 19 years old. It must be that problem. So he's acting out sexually on his sister. He doesn't get caught. There's no reason to believe that he got caught or that there was any charges at that time. But what it did do is it set up a scenario where he began to look for opportunities within the family. And that's what led him then maybe to act out on his own children. Right? All right. So that could be the trauma that she experienced. And I have hold on a minute, because I have a picture. Let's see, where's the picture? I have a picture of this guy, Tyler, and he does actually look, well, what'd I do? Here it is. He looks, he looks like there's a lot of substance use, right? He looks like he is drinking a lot. I mean, let's be honest, this guy is what, 50 something years old. Well, not even that, 48 or so. And he actually looks like he's at least 60, 65 years old. I'm talking about his skin. He looks really old, unhealthy, liver and kidney issues, right? So it's likely, it's perhaps he also is drinking a lot of alcohol. And we know from Sarah Boone's ex-husband that was actually at the heart of the divorce. Is she just drinks all the time. She's got a serious alcohol problem. So there's a lot about this woman, Sarah Boone, that suggests that, there was a lot of problems for her growing up. And she's now grown into an adult who, unfortunately is dealing with, it is very sad. It's a horrible, tragic background. I mean, for all the kids involved, all of them. And yet you're still left with this problem. If an adult is acting out on children, if an adult is breaking the law and murdering their lover, the fact that they were abused in childhood, it doesn't relieve them of responsibility. You want to know why I say that? It's not because I'm cold and lack empathy and I'm cruel. It's because the grandest majority of people that were traumatized in childhood, they do not go on to perpetrate crimes against others. There are millions of people that were assaulted in childhood that go on to be very, very, very protective of kids. They're advocates against abuse and trauma. Many. And that's why it's not an excuse. You don't get permission to destroy the souls of other people just because someone did it to you. You have the ability to be traumatized, get healthy, and not hurt others. Correct? All right. She does, Cannabis Queen. She has a son. And her husband or ex-husband, he's very clear that that she would often miss visitation, be late to picking her son up. Her son was very, very often disappointed because he's sitting there waiting for mom to come get him. And then, she doesn't show up because she's drunk or because she's hungover. So when you really start talking to her family members, you start listening to the people that know her in real life, you see a pattern of behavior where she's just not making it in life. She's really, really struggling. So that I was so surprised, and I'm sure that all of you have seen, the great and fantabulous Sarah Boone. What did she say? She excels at everything she does. Isn't that what she says during the interview with the cops, right? I think you don't know who I am. It's her exact words. You don't exactly know who I am. Hold on just a minute. I can share that. It made it, when I heard her, I smiled to myself because it's stereotypical true blue narcissism, right? You're seeing real narcissism in the flesh in this moment, okay? We all throw around that word narcissist. Oh, he's such a narcissist. It is absolutely one of the most overused psychological, linguistic tool of all time. And I blame Dr. Ramani because she's so amazing. And she has educated everyone on what clinical narcissism is. However, there's a difference between your ex-boyfriend who's just a jerk and you call him a narcissist compared to a person who is clinically narcissistic. They are, when you listen to people that have real personality disorders, when you listen to them, you have to be really careful not to let your jaw hit the ground, okay? Because the things that they say, the way they behave, your brain will recognize as being so far outside of the normal human experience that you're just aghast. Not, oh, I hate my boyfriend, he's so selfish and he cheated on me, he's such a narcissist. No, maybe he's lacks empathy, maybe he's selfish, maybe he, is finished with the relationship and just wants to move on to a new dating partner. But if you really want to hear what a narcissist sounds like, here is a sample.
No, I was just simply asking because you had a look on your face when she asked you if you've ever done that before. You looked kind of shocked. And
no.
Okay, why did you say it like that? Like,
I don't think you all understand who I am. Where,
okay. Well, tell me.
I mean, I've always been a straight A student. I am an outstanding mother to my son. I excel at everything. I would not do that.
You would not.
And yet she did do it, correct? And she's 42 years old, and she's talking about how she's a straight A student when in 1990 something. You're the way you're going to describe yourself is going all the way back to when you were 15, 16 years old in high school. In 25 years, 30 years of living, you haven't moved past your grades. This is unbelievable.
Maybe take a picture of them, the two of Tess and
Your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what happened.
Okay, let me just grab something.
All right.
Listen, she's 42 years old right now.
No, I was just simply asking because you had a look on your face when she asked you if you've ever done that before. You looked kind of shocked. And
No.
okay, why did you say it like that? Like,
I don't think you all understand who I am. Where,
okay. Well, tell me.
I mean, I've always been a straight A student. I am an
She's 42 years old. 15, 16 years old. That was 30 years ago. Imagine the cognitive dissonance of this detective who's dealing with, the here and now, right now, today, the 2021 or 2022. And she's saying, you clearly don't know who I am. Like, you obviously do not know who I am. Don't you know that I'm Julia Roberts? Don't you know that my name is a household word? Don't you realize I am Michelle Obama? Right? That is how she states it. You guys clearly don't know who I am. And so he's like, well, okay, who are you? Like, are you CEO of a Fortune 500 company? Like, what is it about you that we are not dialed into that you feel like we should be? And the very first words out of her mouth are, I've always been a straight A student. Yeah, but Sarah, you're an old lady now. You haven't been in school in decades. And yet you define yourself in 2023, you define yourself the way you were in 2090 something. Crazy, right? So right there, y'all, right there in that moment, we get some insight, right? we gain insight as we are listening to this woman speak, even in the courtroom, talking to the judge or anything. How many times have we all just sort of went, what? What does she say? What? Does she not notice? Like, is she playing a game? Is she pretending to be something she's not? Does she have multiple personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder? Like, why is she so bizarre? Why is this chick so crazy? Like, there's no shame there. There's no empathy for George. There's like nothing that would qualify as expected human experience, right? So right in this moment, we get insight for why that is, that you and I, we clearly recognize she's different. There's something about this chick that is not normal, but you can't really put your finger on it, right? It's elusive what it might actually be. And now we're beginning to see some real cracks. And that is, number one, she has a grandiose sense of self, doesn't she? Very, very self-important. In fact, her grandiose sense of self is actually unreasonably high if you look at the reality of who she actually is. So, oh, you guys clearly don't know who I am. And then you go, okay, well, like, are you a senator? Do you like have $1 million company? Are you a surgeon? Are you a famous actor? Like, what have you done that sets yourself apart that you somehow should get special consideration from us? Right? So that unreasonably or unrealistically high sense of self-importance, the grandiose way that she views herself, feeling, and you're going to recognize this in old Sarah Boone. Do you think Sarah Boone believes that she deserves privileges and special treatment that other inmates may not deserve? I mean, that is her in a nutshell. That describes every bit of her demeanor, the way those letters that she writes to the court. This chick believes that she is incredibly special, that she stands out above and beyond others, but in reality, there is no accomplishment. The truth of her history, she's not done anything related to achievement, success. She doesn't really have any special talents. And this would lead a psychologist, just this little bit we've seen here, the reality of her demeanor is the way that she presents herself to the court. All of that would lead a psychologist to say, okay, well, let's look and see historically, are there some special talents? Does she have a history of accomplishment? Has she excelled at some point? High IQ, unusual accomplishment, like what is happening here? And when you don't find any of that, when there's nothing there that would legitimately inform and educate her, yes, when I compare myself to a certain group of other people, I do seem to be a little smarter than the average bear, or I do seem to be a little more talented in playing the guitar or singing. She doesn't have any of that. All she does now in the early or mid 2000s, according to the father of her child, is she drinks a lot, all the time, every day. She is an active alcoholic. And you and I both know while there may be functional alcoholics that happen at a certain point in the disease progression, eventually all alcoholics lose control and their life goes spinning out of orbit. And so I wouldn't even say that she's functional. One of her arrests, she says, I just started my job 2 days ago. So she gets a job. She gets fallen down, snoggered drunk. She and George beat each other up. And then, she's saying, oh no, I'm going to lose my job because of you. I'm going to get fired because of you. And thankfully the cop is like, no, you did this. I didn't. I'm just following the law, doing my job. Okay. But in her mind, she's a great accomplishment. If she works one day as an accountant, she will, in her fantasies of success and power and brilliance, one day working as an accountant, she will convince herself and everyone around her that she is a CPA. All right. They have no concept of reality. They just blow everything up into complete fantasy that doesn't describe them at all. So she starts by saying, you guys clearly don't know who I am. And he says, okay, well, who are you? And she says, I have always been a straight A student. Okay. So we go back to her high school, Edgewater High School, her elementary schools. She was not a member of the National Honor Society for Edgewater. She's not in the newspaper articles that name the various honor roll students. So is that just, well, 2.5 decades ago, I was on the A honor roll once. And you don't know with people that have narcissistic personality disorder, because they take one tiny little thing and then they blow it up into, oh, this is my career. I heard Bullhorn Betty, and look, I'm going to make a video about Bullhorn Betty, her arrest and all that. I think Cluminati and Cletus are so off base in this video they did. They showed Betty getting arrested, and everything. And they're laughing about it. And all I'm sitting there going, you guys look stupid. Not Bullhorn Betty. She is conducting herself with dignity. Class. She's calm. She's not frightened and freaking out. You guys seem bizarre that you're showing this in an effort for humiliation. That was the whole reason that they showed the video of Bullhorn, that they just wanted to do something they felt like would be demeaning and embarrassing to her. And the facts are, it actually made her look really, really good, like really good. So the truth of the matter is that Christopher and Katie Proudfoot have filed these ridiculous restraining orders. Oh, we're so afraid for our lives. Bullhorn Betty is going to yell at us from the street. We may die because she's so frightening. They're playing a game. Christopher Proudfoot, and you can see him in his orange shirt. That was a bad choice, Chris. In his orange shirt, comes in, starts talking to the attorney with an intensity. It's like, ooh, I'm going to win. This is the Super Bowl. Me against Bullhorn Betty. I'm going to put her in her place. I'm going to win. And you can see this earnestness on his face. And I'm sitting there going, you dumbass. There's a 15-year-old kid with autism who hadn't been seen since the night he was at your house. And you are playing tiddlywinks with an attorney to try to get Betty in trouble? Where are your priorities? I don't think I would care at all that Bullhorn Betty or anybody else was out there looking for my kid. I would be grateful to them. I wouldn't question their tactics. I certainly would not be trying to shut them up and tell them they could not talk about Sebastian. So it's a little strange, Christopher Proudfoot, that you think you are in the Super Bowl to hurt Bullhorn Betty with a restraining order to make her stop looking and stop searching for Sebastian. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, you and Katie, you guys look like you're glad that Sebastian's gone. And then your little friend, Cluminati, shows this video of the arrest, and she's yucking it up and laughing. Oh, this is so great. Why is it great? Bullhorn Betty just is acting with dignity and class. She's calm. And you are the one that looks like a low IQ clown going, oh, look how bad she looks. She didn't look bad at all. Oh, yeah. And I heard that cop say, yeah, a lot of people have noticed that Chris Proudfoot is trying to make people stop talking about Sebastian, and that makes him look guilty. The cop actually says something to that order. Now that, so going back to narcissism and whatnot, we see with Sarah Boone in this arrest video that or interrogation that, you know, she is really demonstrating this heightened level of self-importance, kind of like Christopher Proudfoot does. And so they say, well, tell us who you are. Like, why should we be impressed? And she says, well, 2.5 decades ago, I was on the honor roll. And then she goes on with this.
Outstanding mother to my son. I excel at everything. I mean, I've always been, I don't think you all understand who I am. Where,
okay. Well, tell me.
I mean, I've always been a straight A student. I am an outstanding mother to my son. I excel at everything.
All right. And she, look at this woman's face. She believes what she's saying, y'all. She has convinced herself that this is really who she is. Now, the father of her child, who has full custody of the son, Sarah gets visitation only. The dad makes all the decisions for the son. She is not considered a caregiver. She simply gets visitation, right? So she says, well, I'm an outstanding mother to my son. He says, the father says, it is rare for her to actually follow through with her visitation. A lot of times she's too drunk to see him, or she sleeps all day because she's hungover. So she is not an exceptional mother to her son. The father has been vocal and said it's been very difficult. The son is very often worried about his mother because she is, let's just say this, she's sick. She has an illness, right? And he picks up on that. He's very concerned about her. And so you got to stop. And it's very telling that she is only allowed visitation in the Sunshine State, where, you know, motherhood is right next to, you know, being virginal, right? You're like the Virgin Mary. So conservative states, the female typically does get special consideration when it comes to custody or shared custody. And it does take quite a bit to lose access to that custodial type parent label. And yet, in this case with Sarah Boone, that in fact is the truth. So while she says, you guys clearly have no idea who I am, she then names her top accomplishments. I'm a straight A student. Not true. There's simply no evidence of that. And you hadn't been in school in 2.5 decades. So straight A student, exceptional mother. The father's already come out and said that is not true, not real. He doesn't even spend the night at her house. He gets to see her a couple hours, but then he comes home. And then, you know, that she's exact words, excels at everything she does. And I thought that is just so odd for someone to say about themselves. unless you actually do have some kind of accomplishment, right? But even people I know that are highly accomplished people, they do not go around saying, I excel at everything I do. Like most people that, non-personality disordered, those words would never cross your lips, right? You would just, no matter, even if you're own your own company or you're a medical doctor, most people would never say, I excel at everything I do. And yet we have it from her lips. I mean, right there during this whole interrogation thing. And one of the things I think too that is so disconcerting about this is that she truly does believe this. Like, you can look at her face and tell she's not just trying to BS the detective. She really thinks that. And so I got to thinking, okay, well, what is it about her and her history, her past, that she feels like she is so exceptional and a straight A student and the greatest of all time? And then we end up with this. And it is that this young lady, Sarah Boone, when she was like 12 or 13 years old, she was on Nickelodeon as a game show contestant. Now, isn't that just crazy? And the reason that I say that it is crazy is how many of these murderers, especially these murderers that seem to have really strange personalities, how many of them have been contestants on game shows? Lori Vallow was a contestant on a game show, right? And Ramirez, I can't think of what's his, Avila something, a serial killer. He was a contestant on a game show. Donna Adelson, contestant on a game show. You go back through this list of people that, and I'm talking about heinous murderers, horrible, heinous, awful, terrible murderers, serial killers that were, they were on game shows. John Cooper was the bullseye killer. He was a serial killer. He got two nicknames. He was the Pembrokeshire murderer, and then he was also the bullseye killer. He was on a game show. We have a guy named Paul Curry. He was on Jeopardy twice. We had Donna Adelson on Jeopardy. We had Lori Vallow on Jeopardy. Jeopardy. People, you guys need to do a little bit better picking these serial killers. That now Donna Adelson's not a serial killer, but conspiracy to kill her son-in-law. So that's another one that's not really a well-known name. The one I was trying to think of, Rodney Alcala, who was a notorious serial killer. Notorious. Killed 6 women. He was a convicted child predator, sexual predator. He was on The Dating Game. And listen to this. So the lady that he got matched up with on The Dating Game, she met him, after the game finished, and she ended up meeting him, and she backed out of the date. She said, he has a weird vibe coming off of him. No. And so she said no. And ultimately he ends up convicted of murder. And they believe they pinned 6 women. Let's see. So it was in the 1970s, and he killed 8 women and 1 girl, underage girl. By the time that he was on The Dating Game, later on they would figure out, by the time he was on The Dating Game, he had already killed 6 women. So when the girl that won when she met him, took a minute to talk about, okay, well, what kind of date are we going to go on? She said it was strange. She just felt something like dirty inside of her. She said it was he had these very strange vibes. And she told the producers, no, I cannot. She wanted to know. She asked them first. She said, am I legally obligated to follow through on the date? And the producer said, no, you're not. It's your choice. And she said, I do not want to go out with him. And please keep him here until I can get out of the building and get gone, because I don't want him to follow me. So weird, right? And I said to Vanessa, on Unmasked, she was at Barry Morphew's preliminary hearing with me. And I told her, I said, listen, you go into the courtroom. I gave her my place. Okay. We were there 2 days. I went in the first day, or maybe it was 3 days. I went in there the first day and was in the courtroom all day long. The second day we got in line, and I said, okay, if you don't get picked to go in, but I do, I'm going to give you my seat so you can actually be in the same room with him, because I want to know if you are picking up on the same kind of crazy vibes that I feel. Like I felt being near to him, like when he looked at me, he smiled at me. There inside of me, I was disturbed. Like I felt, you just can't describe it. There something inside of me said there's something wrong with this guy, that he is not safe. He is a weird guy, right? Now he's extremely handsome. He's a really physically attractive man. But boy, when he looked at me and he smiled, my brain sent out warning bells, and it was just like, creep alert. He's dangerous. Get away. Right? There was something visceral, something in my gut, right? And so I said, if I get picked, you are going to take my seat, and then I'll drive out to the fairgrounds and watch on the big screen, which I'm so glad I did, because I met a couple of Suzanne's friends and whatnot. Anyway, so I got a seat. She did not. So I gave her my seat so that she could go in and experience it. And at lunch, when we got out on lunch, we were texting, and I was like, what do you think? She said, oh my God, what is wrong with him? There's something creepy. He puts out some kind of like weird, uncomfortable vibe, right? AK had the same feeling. It wasn't just a girl thing. AK said the same thing. He's got a weird thing about him. He's got a weird thing. So he's a weird guy. Something wrong with him. And so Jeopardy, you guys are picking a lot of serial killers. Why? And the dating game. And so that leads us to this point of Sarah Boone being on Nickelodeon. Now, it's not a lot, but let me just be quiet and play the little clip, because you're going to be surprised that it's the same Sarah Boone.
Partner there, Sarah, likes to hang out at the mall.
Look at her. She looks so healthy, right? This is clearly before the ravages of alcoholism. But she's a cutie. Like, she's cute and she's smart. And there was so much potential for her. And I think it is just tragic and sad that childhood trauma that was not treated, it was not addressed by a professional, her self-medicating with alcohol. Look at where she's at. This is a woman that when you listen to her talk and your jaw hits the ground and you think, my God, is she crazy? No, what you're seeing is a real personality disorder, as compared to just, oh, my ex-boyfriend, I hate him, he's a narcissist. Real personality disorders are tangible. You can recognize this person is different than 99% of other people. So let's hear how Sarah, before the ravages of alcoholism, let's see how she manages the game show environment.
Where she was to where she is now.
Your partner there, Sarah, likes to hang out at the mall. Now, what do you do while you're just hanging at the mall, Sarah?
Well, check out guys and spend money.
Check out the dudes and spend the cash. Your cash or like parents' cash?
Mine.
Boom, right there. You even see the self-importance right there, right? And in the truth, she's in school. She probably doesn't have much money. Her mom or dad, somebody probably gives her money. She may have a little job at McDonald's or something like that. But she's just sort of like, how dare you? It's my money, of course. Is it your money if your mom gave it to you? Like, is it your money? So that would be an interesting question, to get an answer. So I think she's super cute, and she's clearly smart. And trauma is a bad thing. It's a really bad thing. But look at this look on Sarah's face here in the courtroom. Her boyfriend is dead, DEAD, and she caused it. And yet that little smile on her face is like, I'm a celebrity. I have fans. I'm just going to be cute, because that's how I manipulate people and control people, by being cute. You're not so cute anymore, Sarah. And when you kill someone, it's not a good idea to try to pretend like you're the belle of the ball.
Was to where she is now.
Your partner there, Sarah, likes to hang out at the mall. Now, what do you do while you're just hanging at the mall, Sarah?
Well, check out guys and spend money.
Check out the dudes and spend the cash. Your cash or like parents' cash?
Mine.
That's right. In 1997, Sarah was on a Nickelodeon.
Okay, now this, just so that you guys can... Okay, this channel that we're watching this on is Criminal Intent by Katrina Marie. She's only got 5,000 subscribers. She's got some really, really great content. And I hope that you will go over and subscribe and hit the thumbs up and watch her full video on Sarah. Okay? Because all I'm doing is just showing the... oh, she didn't put the, well, okay, there's an interesting timeline. This is a great video, but let's see. It looks like this must have been another day. This is not the other video that I've seen, though.
And had a perfect GPA. Do you remember this clip?
I don't think you all understand who I am,
Okay. Well, tell me.
I mean, I've always been a straight-A student. I am an outstanding mother to my son.
Okay.
I excel at everything.
Although it sounds very narcissistic, I do believe her when it comes to her grades. I think her mother really cared about grades for herself and her 3 children. The 3 children would go on to graduate from Edgewater High School. Her mom...
Okay. So I disagree a little bit with Katrina about the whole grades and whatnot. Perhaps she was on the honor roll. Perhaps it's not that important. It's a small school. It was 2.5 decades ago. The really notable factor is she's 40 something years old. And when asked, okay, well, who are you that we should be giving you special consideration? She goes all the way back decades to say, I make straight A's. I excel at everything. Did that mean you went on game shows? Is that what that meant? So did Donna Adelson. So did Lori Vallow. The FBI will tell you that serial killers have an IQ higher than the general population when we're looking at the bell curve, right? But part of that is this reason, right? It's not that if you're smart, you're going to be a serial killer. It's that you're smart enough that you didn't get caught after you killed the first three. So you gotta be able to get away with a certain number of murders in order to even get the classification of serial killer. You may very well have the capacity to kill 50 people, but if you're a dumb criminal and you get caught after the first one's dead, then you don't get to move on to kill other people and finally get that actual designation, serial killer. Does that make sense? So I do question a little bit this part of the profiling that serial killers are high IQ people. Yeah, I think they do have to be smart so they don't get caught. But I think there's a lot of people that have a capacity to be a serial killer, but they were dumb and they got caught after the first murder. So they're just your run-of-the-mill plain old killer, right? Okay. So that being said, do you label Boone as a serial killer? I do not label Boone as a serial killer. No. Not at all. And it's actually a moot point. And the reason that I say it's a moot point, because I don't think that she was particularly smart. I think she really mishandled this whole issue. If she was going to lie her way out of this, even manslaughter charges or murder or whatever, she had a lot of stories that she could have told, a lot of misrepresentation of the truth that could have gotten her free, maybe never even charged. But you got to be really dumb to record a crime that you're committing, and then you leave it there. And then when you are being interviewed by the cops, you don't even have the intelligence to shut your mouth and say, I want an attorney. Now, part of that is the whole narcissistic problem. Narcissists don't often ask for an attorney, y'all. Why? Why don't they ask for an attorney? Because they are smarter than everybody else in the room. Because they can lie and convince people of their lies, and then they won't get in trouble at all. And I think that's what you see with Sarah, that overinflated that like grandiose belief that she is special, number one. And because she's special, the cops are just going to believe whatever she says. And number two, I can convince them of whatever I want to convince them of. And in this case, it came out to bite her in the butt. And I think that's also why she went through 8 attorneys. She never learned her lesson. That's the definition of not serial killer. That's the definition of a narcissist, or a personality disorder, to be exact. It's the definition of a personality disorder, a long-standing pattern of behavior that negatively affects you in 2 or more environments that you never learn. You just keep on thinking you're awesome and you're great and everybody's just going to do what you tell them to do. So she is actually the quintessential embodiment of all the symptoms that we associate with narcissistic personality disorder. It's so clearly a personality disorder as well. It's so blatant. You can see it when she speaks, and the fact that she doesn't edit her behavior. She never has a realization of, oh, okay, I better be quiet now. She demands from the cops. She makes demands of the judge. She makes demands of 8, now 9, 10, and 11 defense attorneys. She makes demands of the prosecutor's office. She makes demands of the jail. I mean, she's pretty damn shocking. So when we look at the symptoms related to narcissistic personality disorder, we would say, okay, well, they behave in a very arrogant fashion. They brag quite a lot. They often come across as very conceited. They can be incredibly envious of other people, but even more important, they believe others are envious of themselves. Oh, well, you're saying mean things about me because you're jealous of me. You wish that you were as good as I am. You wish that you were as pretty as I am. You wish you were as smart as I am. It's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. People with narcissistic personality disorder, they take advantage of others. And in order to get what they want, they will absolutely hurt another person to get what they want. And they will actually use that as narcissistic supply, saying to themselves, I'm not a bad person. It's not my fault that the other person is stupid and let me do that. People with narcissistic personality disorder can be very, very critical of others. If they do not perceive that the other person is somehow important, a person that others would look up to, then they can be vicious in tearing them down. I see that a lot now. I see that a lot now, like on YouTube. We have had some famous people in our midst that have, made their own channels and whatnot. And if you said, I'm going to use one example, like Chris McDonough, who is well known because he's done a lot of like television crime appearances and things like that. If you say something like, I just have a hard time listening to Chris McDonough. I disagree with the way he did the whole interrogation in California, right? Not that you're being rude or attacking or being unfair, but just your actual sincere appraisal is just, it's hard for me to listen to him because I think he maybe bent the rules a little bit. There are a lot of people that will say back to you something like, how dare you talk about him that way? Don't you know who he is? Don't you know how important he is? He has been on this television show and this television show, and who are you? You are a nobody. And it's kind of amusing, right? That there are people that have sort of a narcissistic flair, that they really, really look up to Chris McDonough because he's been on TV, he's well known, but they would look down on you because you say, I don't really like to watch him. That's very, very typical of someone with a narcissistic PD. They'll take someone with accomplishment, something they deem important, and build them up into godlike status. And then they will just completely destroy other people that are just normal, nice people, but maybe they're not famous. So that's kind of funny. You see that in action on YouTube quite a bit. People with narcissistic personality disorder, they believe they're superior to others. You can hear, you clearly don't know who I am. They can be preoccupied with fantasy. And I think this is at the heart of what's going on with Sarah Boone. They can be preoccupied with fantasy, and the fantasies are always, about being very successful, having a lot of power, being very brilliant, or being like gorgeous and beautiful, having the perfect body, being the perfect mate. And with the help of substances like alcohol, if they have a very rich fantasy life, they can actually begin to convince themselves that they are all that in a bag of chips. Okay. So it does sound like Sarah has kind of having some trouble with some delusional thought, probably aided by the alcohol use. And she's basically convinced herself that she's quite special. I've seen people convince themselves, narcissists, convince themselves that they are very important people. They're very valuable. They're very accomplished, all because their daddy was successful. I'm the child of a great man, and that makes me great. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It just makes you a disappointment. If your dad or your mom were very accomplished and did very, very well in life, then, you can't ride on their coattails. You got to go out there and make your own way and make a life you're proud of. You can't just say, I'm great because I'm somebody's son. That's silly, right? So I wonder if that might also be part of what Sarah Boone is going through. She's got a lot of fantasy life going on that's led to delusional thought. And because of her mother being accomplished, somehow she sort of soaked up some of that special exceptionalism. Hey, I'm Sarah Boone. I'm exceptional because my mom was exceptional. That can definitely happen. All right. So as we go through this and listen, you can see, okay, this, Sarah definitely has a grandiose sense of self, unreasonably high level of self-importance. She's probably fairly demanding of excessive admiration. She probably needs constant, supply from George. And then she would get mad at George when he was no longer giving her that love and adoration that she so dramatically demands, right? So enter in now an April 2000, I think it was 2019, maybe 18, I think, arrest. This was very telling because I'm watching her body language, I'm watching her behavior, and I'm thinking, this is not narcissistic personality disorder. This is something else. So let's listen to this. Uh-oh, you can't hear it. Sorry. Sorry. It's so bizarre, y'all. It's just so bizarre. Look at it. Is this something for me? Like she literally says that. Is this something for me? Again, playing the cutesy little, bubble head blonde. Look how cute I am. I'm going to manipulate you by being so cute. I'm just like Shirley Dimple. You're going to love me. That little girl voice, right? This is personality disorder, y'all. It's not narcissistic personality disorder, but it is a type of personality disorder. So listen again. Crazy, right? Like you just tell right off the bat, something's weird here. What's going on? All right. I mean, this woman here in this video is over 30 years old. Okay. And yet she's presenting like a little 5-year-old little girl with blonde ringlets, Now watch this. We got a little cheerleader jump.
So I'm guessing you call it for a reason, right?
Uh-oh. And we're still being a 5-year-old because now she's like, well, couldn't you tell how cute I was being? Aren't you impressed by my cute behavior? I can tell I'm gonna be in trouble. This isn't fair. I don't like you. I'm not gonna be your friend anymore. Crazy, right?
So I'm guessing you called for a reason, right?
Told me 24 hours.
Yeah.
He said, the cop's just standing there like, oh my God. Oh my God. Why me? And she's all doing cheerleader moves and being a cutesy little poot head. And then he goes, okay, you called me? And she acts like a little kid and she frowns. She said, he told me to.
Okay.
Yeah, but
She says, okay, don't listen to him. Don't listen. Don't listen to him. Just pretend like this never happened. Just turn around and get in your car and drive away. I've got this under control, Mr. Police Officer. Everything's fine. Don't you know who I am? I am Sarah Boone, and I am one exceptional human being, and everything's okay. We don't have to do this, sir. Just get in your car and drive away. Can't you see how happy and cute I am? The level of manipulation from this grown-ass woman is nuts. But that's the definition of personality disorder. What remains to be seen is exactly which personality disorder, because this isn't narcissistic personality disorder, but it is a personality disorder.
you do realize he's here, though, right?
She literally whined. I mean, she's absolutely acting like she is 5 years old. It is shocking.
So I'm guessing you called for a reason, right?
Told me 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you do realize he's here, though, right? Have you been drinking?
I had a drink.
Okay.
It was raining.
It is raining. No, don't close the door because I gotta keep an eye on my guy. Yeah, just leave it open.
Okay, well,
Yeah, what's gonna happen? Yeah, I have to. He's here. Yeah, you can stay right here. You can stay right here. He doesn't know that you call. He doesn't know how to know, right? Yeah. I have to.
It's
So I'm guessing you called for a reason, right?
told me 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you do realize he's here, though, right? Have you been drinking?
I had a drink.
Okay.
It was raining.
It is raining. No, don't close the door because I gotta keep an eye on my guy. Yeah, just leave it open.
Okay, well,
Yeah, what's gonna happen? Yeah, I have to. He's here. Yeah, you can stay right here. You can stay right here. He doesn't know that you call. He doesn't know how to know, right? Yeah. I have to.
look. That's where I was trying to stop it. Look at her making her eyes like super big because she's trying to like do the mind meld, right? She's trying to like will him with energy, the brain lasers coming from her eyes to control him and make him, do what she wants him to do. So it's interesting. It's fascinating, isn't it? But it's not narcissistic personality disorder. What you're actually seeing here are symptoms that would be consistent with what we call histrionic personality disorder. Okay? Histrionic personality disorder. And it is also, I'm going to go through those symptoms for histrionic PD, but I want to also point out a third issue now that we know about her brother and some of that potential history, is that when trauma occurs, people will get stuck at that particular psychosocial stage in life. And when they are then confronted with challenges in adulthood, when they get fired from a job, or when they, have some kind of emotional letdown, they lose their house to foreclosure, or they, go bankrupt, or something bad happens in their life, then these childhood trauma will drive them to react to the adult trauma in the same social development as they were when the original trauma happened. So if you are 5 years old, the first big trauma that you experience, then it's very likely that as a 50-year-old, you get a notice that your house is being foreclosed on, and you respond like a 5-year-old would. You get very frightened, you feel like you have no control, and you may scream and yell and break things, right? Because you're regressing back to the original trauma. If your original trauma happens when you're like 15, then your reaction to adult trauma, when you regress, it would be more like a teenager. It would be more like grabbing a bottle of scotch and getting snoggered drunk, instead of calling your attorney and saying, hey, just got a notice, about to lose my house to foreclosure. Can you help me? Which is the adult response. But a teenager would respond by, I hate banks, and get drunk. All right. So I think it's incredibly interesting that we see Sarah Boone in this particular clip definitely regressing, but she's regressing way, way back. She's regressing all the way back to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. I mean, she even does a cheerleader jump as she's trying to prove to the cop, look how happy I am. Look, I'm perfectly safe. Look, I can be a little cheerleader. Isn't that cute? And that cheerleader move was designed to make him feel confident that she was not in danger, that she didn't need the police there. But my point is, why does a 40-year-old woman or 38-year-old woman, why does she naturally become a cheerleader when in manipulation did make the cops go away and say, I'm okay? Adults wouldn't do that. Adults would walk out and go, thank you for responding. I feel foolish. Maybe I responded too quickly. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry you guys had to waste your time coming out here. Things are okay. We were very passionate earlier in a disagreement, but now we've worked it out. And I know I've wasted your time, and I'm sorry. That's how an adult would respond. An adult does not come out doing cheerleader jumps. Oh, something special for me. Weird business, right? So with histrionic personality disorder, there's some very specific things that we notice. One thing is appearance. People with histrionic personality disorder, they very often use their appearance as an avenue or as a tool for manipulation. So they'll wear really bright clothing, like bright colors, or if they're female, they'll wear clothes that really show off their boobs, kind of highlight their gender. They People with histrionic personality disorder very often will come across as overtly sexual. Men with histrionic personality disorder, they'll often they'll weight lift to a point that they have these big bulging muscles that are kind of creepy, because they think that makes them seem an exceptionally manly man. People with histrionic personality disorder are attention seeking. They feel very uncomfortable if they are not the center of attention, and they will go to exceptional lengths to get that attention. They'll lay down on the floor and roll around on the ground screaming if that's what it takes to get the attention on them. They don't have a sense of dignity. They don't think, well, yeah, I'd like some attention here, but I don't want to come across as a crazy, insane person to do that. They don't care. They are happy to be a crazy, insane person if it makes them the center of attention. One hallmark of histrionic personality disorder that to me is very unnerving, it really bothers me. These people, they will latch on to someone that they may admire. They may have some reason to believe that somehow this person is special, or that the person is someone that they wish they could be like, right? They'll latch on to them. Sometimes the person doesn't even know that this other person is obsessed with them. They'll just be like, what do you mean? I don't even know that lady. And yet suddenly the woman has a haircut just like yours. She has her hair colored. She does her eyebrows like you. She does her makeup like you. She'll spend hours searching to buy the same exact clothes that you have. And they'll, again, for histrionic PD, outward appearance is a tool that will be used to manipulate you. So that's kind of that's one of the features of histrionic PD that is really unnerving to me, is how some of these people can really make themselves look exactly like the person that they've fixated upon and become, obsessed with. It's dangerous too. It's not good when somebody doesn't know where they end and you begin. So it can be, y'all remember, I had a person in my history on YouTube. They got very obsessed with me, and was having a very difficult time recognizing she didn't know me. We weren't friends. Things got really weird then. So it does happen, and it's sad, when it does. Also, people with histrionic personality disorder are easily influenced by others, especially people that they admire or people that they think may be powerful somehow. So imagine when you have someone that has narcissistic personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder, the symptoms, those two personality disorders specifically together, it's just like TNT. It's just like taking a bad personality disorder and then putting it on steroids. And so it can make things very strange. One of the things that can make it very strange for someone with narcissistic personality disorder that have histrionic personality disorder is they become very, very dramatic. They express themselves in a way that is very exaggerated and theatrical. They can make their emotions like they can turn it into just a story about going down to the corner store to buy some orange juice. By the time they finish telling the story, it's like something that should be like on a soap opera, right? They have a way of building things up into a story that's just simply not accurate. It's just not real. So I think after this description, you recognize this is Sarah Boone in a nutshell, right? That she often speaks in dramatic, just in really overly expansive way. She chooses words that have a lot of drama, like dramatic weight to them. These letters that she was writing to the judge, 25 pages just to say, I don't like my attorney. That's the histrionic PD acting out. It's the narcissistic PD that's driving her to make these value judgments. Oh, this attorney is not worthy of me. But it's the histrionic PD that is pushing her into these big, exaggerated, theatrical descriptions and talking about how emotionally heavy her experience is, and don't you care about my opinions? They matter. My attorneys should look up to me because I'm the expert in this case. She talks about her fans, you know. So I thought that this would be, I thought that this might help before the trial, obviously. I thought that this description of what histrionic PD looks like, what narcissistic PD looks like, maybe it allows us to have a deeper understanding of Sarah and why she does the things she does, right? That when we get, trust me, please trust me on this. When this thing goes to trial, it's going to be a circus. I can't make that clear enough. This is going to be a circus. Y'all get ready. Just get ready. And a word to her attorneys. If you guys find this video, and good God, Lord, I hope you do, please listen to me. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of help here. Please listen. You may think, I'm just going to slip Sarah just a little bitty pinch of benzodiazepine. Just going to give her just a little to keep her calm so that she can just sit quietly and tolerate what people are saying. Do not give this woman benzodiazepines under any circumstances. Please, please, please listen to me. If a person has histrionic personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder, and you give them even a drop of benzodiazepine, any type of self-imposed control, any type of filter that she may be able to get working will be blown up, and you will have a rabid animal on your hands in that courtroom. Trust me on this. You do not want this woman to be given any kind of tranquilizer at all. Much better to give her a book to read, to give her a paper and pencil so she can draw. Just make her focus on anything that other than what that witness is saying. And that is your best hope that this thing doesn't go off the rails. She's going to have a very difficult time getting through 2 weeks of testimony and not exploding. So, all right. Stay away from the pharmaceuticals with Sarah Boone. That will not work. You get a paradoxical reaction it won't work. Yeah, it is, DB. It is going to be, I mean, it's going to be, it's going to be reminiscent of Amber Heard and her. Do you remember how theatrical Amber Heard became when she got up on the stand? I mean, she went full blown actress, and then she peeked, to see, okay, what is the jury? How are they responding? She got hysterical because she recognized no one was buying her story. This is gonna be tough. It's gonna be really, really tough. And I also think, as a side note, if I could take a guess here, my guess is that the attorney, I think she is demanding to be allowed to testify. I think she wants to testify. I think she is chomping at the bit to get up there and tell her story again, because she believes that she can convince everyone that she's the one telling the truth, right? Her attorney, on the other hand, is saying, good God, no. Lord, help us, no. You don't need to be anywhere near a microphone. But I don't think that, I think that this is going to be, this attorney is going to rue the day. Y'all watch. It's going to be tough. She is so similar in personality to Daryl from The Parade. Yes. So very, very similar personalities. Yep. That's a very good call, Cinnamon. Very similar. Yep. So, you go back and you read the letters that Sarah Boone wrote to the judge and whatnot. Look at it with your eyes, with the glasses, saying, is she trying to manipulate the judge? Is she convincing the judge? Look how smart I am, judge. Look at what a grand human being I am. I could not have possibly hurt George. She thinks she has to convince people. She's completely ignoring the fact that they have the video. That's my name. Don't wear it out. It is incredible. She should have taken the very first plea deal that was offered. And the prosecution did offer a plea deal in the early days. That was why the first two attorneys were fired or left, because they said, Sarah, you can't go to trial. There's a video here. We can hear this weak man begging and pleading for air, and you are acting like a petulant little 7-year-old. That's my name. Don't wear it out. We cannot go to trial. We cannot go to trial. I am an abused woman. He abused me. I have to tell my story. And of course, now, fast forward several years, 9 attorneys later, and the prosecution laughed at this newest attorney, and he said, hell no, we are not giving you a plea deal. Not no, but hell no. After everything this woman has put all of us through, we're going to trial. The world's going to know exactly who Sarah Boone is. So we got issues. Whole superheroes trying to save on 3 ruthless psychologists. USR. Sarah Boone actually had an attorney step forward to volunteer his time to take her case. Isn't that crazy? So he stepped forward. He said, I'll do it. He's a guy from Tallahassee. He stepped forward. He said, I'll do it. And he's a good attorney. He's got a great reputation and everything. And since he came on board, he's been able to convince 2 of his friends to also be co-counsel and to help. So at this point, the lady who went through 8 attorneys, who the judge said, I'm not dealing with you anymore. You are going to represent yourself, period. She now has 3 actually very, very, very good attorneys. And she's still demanding that she is a battered spouse, and she wants her defense to be that she was bruised and battered and beaten and destroyed. So that's what we're talking about today, USR. This will be a circus. This will be a trial you will not want to miss, for sure. All right. She was just a little mad, not all the way mad. Yeah, it's crazy. Eileen Warnos had more sanity than this one. Well, I definitely get what you're saying. Maybe it would be more accurate. Eileen Warnos was more stable than Sarah Boone, right? Now, Eileen, let's think about this. Long history of childhood abuse, sexual abuse as a child, neglect, right? All of the above. Alcoholism and drug use, same as Sarah Boone. The difference seems to be that Eileen was so disrupted by her psychiatric symptoms, because she had psychosis. She did have hallucinations, that it could have been the drugs that she was using, but that history is there. And so she ultimately ended up homeless. Compared to Sarah, she married young. She married a guy that was very empathetic and kind. He's a very stable guy. Maybe it was just good fortune. Maybe the fact that there was a man there that took care of her for many, 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 many years as she's actively drinking and destroying herself. At least he was still providing her a house, and there was fresh food and, things like that. But when all is said and done, when everything's accounted for, there's really not a lot of difference between Sarah Boone and Eileen Warnos. Not a lot. Yep. Savior and superheroes concentrating on saving one lovey, ruthless suitcase zipper. Absolutely. So maybe there was a method to her madness. Certainly, USR. And the fact that she was so, how do I want to say this? She was so invested in this defense of battered woman. Like before she was ever arrested, she was saying she was a battered woman, battered women syndrome, right? It was such a frequent, she brought it up so often, talked about it so often, it almost makes you think, did she say that to herself? Did she say, okay, well, if I wake up in the morning, he didn't get out and he's dead, what will my defense be? It's kind of chilling. So I just think this battered women's syndrome, this is going to be a disaster. It's going to be a complete disaster. You got to admit that you did it. In the video recordings, as you're listening to her talk to him, she never says anything like, I'm afraid to let you out. I'm scared you'll hurt me. She never says anything like that. Nothing like that. It's all taunting and like a sing-song, childish. That's my name. Don't wear it out. So she's ruthless. No empathy. Zero empathy. Just cold, right? Just very, 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 very cold. So, I don't have any fear that she will be found not guilty. I think they will get her. And I think when they do, and it could be this. Here's another factor too. What if her levels of narcissism are clinically elevated. What if she's telling herself she wants to be famous? She wants the trial. She wants to testify. She's willing to go to prison for the rest of her life, and she'll write a book. And then she'll be famous. She'll be well known, like going on the Nickelodeon game show. Oh, I'm going to be famous. People are going to know who I am. And then she ends up an old alcoholic, living in obscurity. And now she's talking about her fans. It is chilling. It's scary. It is scary. So I hope that you found this information on, parsing out the difference between histrionic personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder, and how someone having each of those conditions can really be bizarre in their presentation. And it's fairly consistent with what we've seen from Sarah Boone. All right. Yes, she was taunting, mocking, and teasing. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So if you guys enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this information, if it's new, maybe you hadn't considered, some of these issues before, put a 1. And if you thought it was boring and you don't really want me to do any more of these types of videos, put a 2. And just kind of help me see, like how you want this coverage to go. Because I can sit around and just react like a person, like we all are, like, wow, I can't believe she said that. Or I can try to bring some, clinical information to the discussion that might, help with a deeper level of understanding. Why is Sarah so bizarre, right? That's a big question that a lot of people have marveled at. What's wrong with her? Like, she seems normal, but then she doesn't. How is that possible? And it's because, personality disorder, a real authentic personality disorder. Again, full disclosure, I've never spoken to Sarah Boone. I've never interviewed her. I've never given her any psychological instruments to assess. I in no way have any special information about Sarah that you don't have. And this is only me discussing what might be happening. It's all just conjecture and speculation. All right. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. It is hump day. Whoop, 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 woo. And we are on the downside to Friday.